Gentlemen, a word. Sorry for the long time in between posts. It's between catching a bit of the plague going around and some RL issues that crept up. So, got a little tricky trying to find time for this recording. However, all things managed to get tucked away, set aside, so here I am back at it again. Again, I know I'm not the first person to touch on this news subject, but I feel strong enough on it that I frankly don't care. So, here we go. So, news is supposedly leaked out about a group of concept art pieces that are from the Avengers Doomsday production. I would personally take these images with a grain of salt, but just about everybody who's able to have a inside man has stated these are confirmed official. So, yeah, that and also I'm not going to deny there's a great deal of amusement to be found digging through these things, looking for tidbits and theories to garner from them. So, I have my gallon of bleach at the ready should my eyes find something truly horrendous. Shall we? First up that we got here is apparently an apartment setting where we have White Vision from WandaVision and Star-Lord. Apparently they're like supposed to be roommates or something. I have no idea how they were going to set these two up as such, given that even before Vision was killed in Infinity War, these two never met. I don't know how they're going to instigate this. Now, in regards to who could possibly lead an Avengers ensemble, the best two nominees they have, sadly, would be Doctor Strange or Star-Lord. I know a few people are trying to say, well, what about the new Captain America? I know the figurehead is supposed to lead the Avengers, but I'm sorry he doesn't have the personality to rally a group behind him. Strange could possibly do it as a knowledgeable mentor, and Star-Lord's got the track record, so those are your two best guesses. Near as I can tell from the end of WandaVision, White Vision is essentially just regular Vision 2.0. Originally, he was going to be the cold, calculating computer type, but then he merged with the Vision Wanda created, and now it's basically, we got Vision back as if nothing happened. I'm also curious how they're going to explain why we haven't seen hide nor hair of this guy till now. As for Star-Lord, if you've seen Guardians 3, then this will be no skin off your teeth. But for those of you that haven't, sorry, slight spoilers. Star-Lord ends up basically calling it quits, retiring on Earth to go visit his grandfather. He's no longer a member of the Guardians. Again, I don't know how those two story tracks coincide, but whether it'll be through sheer fluke or actual creative genius, I have no idea how they're going to work this. Moving on. Now this, I think, is probably a very interesting one. We have what I assume is Black Panther standing in Wakanda and what is obviously not Chadwick Boseman. Does this mean they are finally biting the bullet and recasting the character? God knows they should. Although, I don't know what they're trying to do here with the Wakandan reference. I hope this is just a statue and not an actual structure, because I'm sorry, I've already seen some of the jokes online on this. And for those of you not familiar, if you're even partially a fan of the old school cartoon show Thundercats, yeah, you'll instantly know where all these jokes are coming from. Now, all that aside, with the possibility of Chadwick Boseman being recast, I totally think that would be a good play on Marvel. They need to recast practically all of their old guard, for better or worse. Either due to the fact that, frankly, they can't afford them with the rate the box offices are dropping, or they're just frankly getting too darn old. But either way, despite the fact there's not a whole lot being shown in this image, I think this is the one that has the most promise behind it, given the fact that it shows Marvel's willingness to move on with characters despite things that may have happened either in front or behind the camera. On to the next one. All right. For those of you that are comic fans, this is one that's going to sting a little bit because this is a what could have been with a Planet Hulk storyline. For those of you that are just MCU fans, my condolences, you've missed out on an absolutely epic storyline. But one bit of sad news here is that apparently they are bringing back She-Hulk, same actress and all, for this, despite the fact that She-Hulk Attorney at Law was possibly one of the worst renditions of a comic book character I have seen in decades. And while Hulk at least doesn't look like Starbucks Hulk in this image, only time will tell whether or not they're even going to hint at us getting Savage Hulk back. I will say that if this other person in here is in fact Scar, as the rumors suggest, my applause to the MCU for totally fixing the screw-up job that, again, She-Hulk Attorney at Law is guilty of. They, for some reason, thought they would be the ones to introduce this character. I'm just glad they at least got his appearance closer to the comics as opposed to that half-shaved monstrosity they had in the MCU Disney Plus show. So this looks like we're going for a medieval style fantasy setting with, judging by the other green-skinned individuals in the background, it looks almost like a city of Hulks. However, I do note that not everybody in the background is green. There are some regularly sized people in here. So I don't know if it's a royal family, if there's just simply a whole race of Hulks, if they've just gamma-induced a lot of people, what? My fingers crossed they didn't go Old Man Logan with this, because if they did, well, any of y'all that had any points of respect for Hulk, yeah, they'll totally lose it if they went Old Man Logan route. And for the sake of your sanity, I will not describe what that is. Google it at your peril. All right, next up. This looks like this is going to basically be used as the argument for where all of the storyline's going to be. We have what is obviously Doom sitting on a throne. And from what I understand, this is supposed to be Mr. Fantastic, played by Pedro Pascal, on his knees in front of him. Now, from what I understand, they are going with the Battle World / Secret War storyline from the comics here, with more than a few liberties taken. For those of you who can't recognize him, this is Doc Strange standing on Doom's left. Or should I say, our left of Doom, excuse me. On the right of Doom here, we have what I am assuming is Sue Richards and what looks to be a very small Franklin Richards, which, if that's the case, then the rumors of some people that went through the Fantastic Four trailer frame by frame and said they found images where Sue was sporting a baby bump, this would definitely add some credence to that, as Franklin is, of course, their first child. As to whether or not their second child will be involved in this, highly unlikely, but since when did the MCU ever give a shit about continuity? So roll the dice on that one. Now, again, this whole story is absolutely dependent on whether or not they nail the Fantastic Four movie. If that movie bombs, oh god, is this film going to have an uphill battle? I'm curious to see what dynamic they do with this. At the very least, how are they going to explain Doom's powers? Because in the comic rendition of this, Doom's godlike abilities, he stole from somebody else. For the sake of not melting your brains, I won't go into who that character is, nor any of his backstory and lore. If you want to go into that rabbit hole, I will simply give you the name Molecule Man. Proceed at your own risk. Moving on. And last but not least, we have again Star-Lord in a bar scene with one of the other rumors that I've heard that they're going to have in this film, the first ensemble shot of our Young Avengers. I really wish they would either put this off or straight up cancel it entirely, because so far, with all the Disney Plus shows, Marvel has done a horrific job establishing every single member of this team. You have Kate Bishop, who's possibly the most unscathed out of all this. As a matter of fact, she's one of the few that didn't spit on the person that she was effectively replacing. Whereas you have, what is this, Ant-Man's daughter? Yeah, for those of you that saw Quantumania, you know instantly what I'm referring to. For those of you who didn't see that film, please keep yourself at least a grain more pure and don't. The movie's an absolute abomination on the eyes, and I swear to God, you will no less than half a dozen times want to reach through the screen and strangle this little... See you next Tuesday. And, and next to our little mini ant is Wanda's two kids, which the fact that these two kids even exist, which from what I understand, one of them they introduced in Agatha All Along. That's a show even I didn't even want to look into the Cliff Notes for. The only reason why I know Wiccan was introduced in that is because in the initial promotional images, they made the mistake of showing him, which that created a whole litany of questions of how retarded their scriptwriters were. As a matter of fact, the whole plot of one of their major MCU films was the fact that Wanda doesn't have her kids. So the fact that they are here means, yeah, Wanda was just even more batshit crazy to begin with. And then you have Kamala Khan. Where to start here? Okay, first off, nothing against the actress. From everything I've seen in press releases and whatnot, she comes off as a relatively nice person. So for those of the absolute psycho-obsessed variety that are giving her any form of flack on the internet, shame on you. Seek counsel. She is merely a young girl who is trying to break into acting. God bless her for it. I'm sorry, this is how she's doing it. Now, as to the people that are truly to blame, that being the scriptwriters and showrunners that have been responsible for every project this poor girl has been attached to, not to mention Marvel at large for her comic book counterpart. This character has been forcibly shoehorned into damn near everything Marvel has, and I can't for the life of me understand why. Her comics have been canceled, I've lost count of how many times now, and every time that she's been shoehorned into someone else's book, the numbers dip. Proof that the audience has no interest in this character, they don't want to see this character, and yet the people in Marvel are trying to make her the next big thing. She is even one of the factors for that Square Enix Avengers game going absolutely belly up. Now, please don't misconstrue that. I don't say her character is the only reason for it, just simply one of the many mitigating factors. Now, can something be done with this character to where people will care? Absolutely. A good scriptwriter or a good story maker can damn near make any character work. After all, Frank Miller managed to turn an absolute joke villain, you know him as Bullseye, into possibly one of the most badass daredevil villains of all time. So, proof that you can take an absolutely moronic concept, and if you're creative enough, you can make them an actual icon. However, the MCU writers and showrunners have proven they have no interest in hiring anybody with that level of talent. So I can only imagine how bad this character is going to get screwed up in this. Now, as to the other guy at this table, this is undoubtedly Wong. I really wish that they would just totally stop trying to push Wong as the Sorcerer Supreme. Doc Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme. You stripped him of it over a technicality. An actual technicality being blipped out for 5 years. That's stupid. And while I have nothing against the actor, because again, just like the actress playing Kamala Khan, with every press release and public appearance that this actor has made, he's actually done a good job of keeping his head down, not bashing the audience, and not sounding like an absolute Mark Ruffalo. And if you don't get that joke, I dare you to look at that man's Twitter feed. But as to what his connection to the Young Avengers here are supposed to be, I have no idea. And this is the fact that Star-Lord is also in this shot is further credence to the theory floating around that Star-Lord will be the guy that gathers our ensemble together. Oh yeah, I just realized I skipped over one. The little Avenger there in green in the middle. If I understand correctly, this is supposed to be Speed, which is, of course, Wanda's other kid. Whether or not they introduced Speed and Agatha all along, as I said before, didn't watch that show, had no interest in that show. It's a show for wine moms. I have no interest in it. So, if anyone in the comments would like to say whether or not he was in there, by all means, knock yourself out. I'm only guessing by the fact that Wiccan is in there and also the colors of the costume. That is it. Well, that was a fun little romp, wasn't it? I want to believe that we are in for something special with this movie. The problem being that we have not heard of any major backstage clearing of the creatives working at Marvel's. I know the Russos are returning for this project, but let's not kill elves. Marvel hasn't hired a director for a long time. They cast directors now, and have been since, I would say, Endgame. The proof is in the fact that every film, with very rare exceptions, looks and feels the exact same, no matter who is, quote, in charge. The best example of this is Multiverse of Madness. To anyone that is a fan of Sam Raimi's work, you noticed right away that Raimi would never have signed off on this shit of a... They threw in a few key jingles just for those people that have seen Evil Dead, but that was literally all they were, key jingles. Then there is the simple concept of the comic story they are claiming to hear. Judging by what we saw in previous statements, they're attempting to recreate the Battleworld storyline. The MCU, as large as it is, has not even scratched the surface of what they would need to properly execute this story. Never mind that in order for this to even resonate with fans properly, the upcoming Fantastic Four film would have to almost be completely picked. An even higher difficulty spike is created when we know that Doom isn't even going to be in the Fantastic Four film, except for maybe an end credit. I am glad, however, they are finally agreeing to bite the bullet and recast Black Panther. I have nothing but respect for the god Chad that was Chadwick Boseman, especially once news of his condition was released after his passing. That being said, I would like to think that someone like him would not have wanted to have the character stop with him. The guy just didn't seem to be the kind of ego-driven type. I personally wish they would recast Iron Man and Steve Rogers as well. RDJ is getting up there in age, and Evans isn't that far behind. Plus also, from my understanding, Evans has actually verbally said he doesn't really have much interest in them. These characters are far bigger than the actors who play them. We have recastings of Batman and Superman every 5 years or so, for better or worse. I don't see why Marvel characters get a pass. I say again that I want this movie to be good and the MCU at least start its long road back to glory. Sadly, I am too much of a realist to just blindly have faith in a property that has failed so horribly so many times. After all, this is still the one detail that still has not been addressed. That detail being that they still have not laid any groundwork for who the Avengers even are. Other than maybe Sam Wilson, who's maybe even on this team? Is there even a team anymore? Did they completely disband? Have they been working in the background? Are they having a job fair? Something, anything. Marvel, throw... I think I've ranted long enough on this topic for now. I thank you all for listening. Please feel free to give this video a like, subscribe, or a comment. I can be found on most platforms under the name Crovax. Until next time, this is Crovax reminding you all to be good, or at least good at what you do.